Hello, friends. This is Lisa Marie here with you, and I'm talking today about self love. I'm actually doing a series on self love, and today we're going to talk about trusting yourself. And I get a lot of clients that come in and they've been through some really bad relationships, and they're so afraid to trust themselves going into a new relationship. Some of them don't even want to have relationships because they don't trust themselves due to the bad relationships they've had in the past. So let me tell you something. Those bad relationships that you had in the past, um, the reason why some of you don't feel like you can trust yourself, it's not that you can't trust yourself. It's that you weren't listening to the red flags. So you had maybe you started getting into a relationship and there were some red flags, like even at the very beginning of the relationship, but you know what, you didn't listen because, I don't know, maybe you thought this person was really physically attractive. There were things about them that you liked, but yet you heard that little voice, or there was something in you telling you this isn't right. Stop where you're at, don't move further. But you didn't listen. And so then you end up getting in the relationship and then you get hurt really badly. I always say that when we ignore the red flags, there's definitely a high consequence to pay later in the end. So trusting yourself, you don't need to be afraid to trust yourself. Um, when you actually truly come into alignment within yourself and with the universe, knowing that you can trust yourself, that is a time when you're willing to listen to that inner voice, to that voice that's telling you, no, this isn't right. And you're wise enough. When you begin to trust yourself, wisdom begins to grow, because now you're not running around, like a child, not knowing any better. You do know better. You know to listen to that voice. And that's all about self-love. When you allow yourself to stop and think and listen to your intuition and follow with what your gut is telling you, that's the time when that's the first step, actually, and showing yourself self-love. We always think about self-love as, maybe going and getting your hair done or your nails done, new clothes, and that's all a part of it, but it starts within. And like I said, one of the first steps in self-love is trusting yourself. Learn to have a relationship with that inner voice. And actually, what that inner voice is that you're hearing is your higher divine. What is the higher divine? The higher divine is the one that has the blueprint to your life. And you can either listen to it or don't listen to it. Again, if you don't listen to it, then it's almost like you're wandering around in this crazy world, trying to figure things out on your own. And you don't have to do that. When you allow yourself to become into alignment within yourself, your higher divine, and with universe, then you're on the right path. You know that you can trust yourself, trust that voice, so that you can continue to move forward in a positive direction. Um, when you're not listening, like I said, it's like you're kind of like a zombie. I'll tell you a story. A long time ago, it's about 10 years ago, I got involved with a guy, and it was about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. But anyway, I got involved with this guy, and I had not come completely into my gifts, my spiritual gifts. I had been awakened, but I met this guy, and it was at this event. I was doing tarot readings, and he was working at this musical event where he was, we called him the oyster guy because uh, he steamed the oysters and served them to people. And I was already starting to talk to him a little bit, and I was attracted to him. And from the area that he was working at, and I was over at my little table doing my cards, I heard somebody shout out the most obscene thing I have ever heard in my entire life. I mean, here I was like 51 or something like that at the time, and I just, when I heard it, the feeling that I just, I didn't even know what to think. It was the most, like I said, the most horrible thing I've ever heard anybody say in my entire life. And and I just remember the feeling. Well, as time went on, a couple of days later, I thought about it, and something was telling me that it was the guy that I was interested in that said it. But I was interested in this guy. I wanted to go out with him. And I kept convincing myself that no, it wasn't him. It was this other guy that worked also doing the oysters with him as well. And I convinced myself that it was not him, that he was too nice of a guy to say anything like that. And so we started dating. His name is Brian. So Brian and I started dating, and about 3 weeks into the relationship, and I was hook, line, and sinker. I was like all into him. And about 3 weeks later, we were talking, and I brought that particular incident up, of that horrible thing that was said. And he told me that no, he was the one that said it. Because I asked him, I said, was it you or the other guy? I'm sure it was the other guy. And he said, no, it was me that said it. And then his comeback was, well, I apologized, to everybody for saying that. And red flag number two, red flag number two. Red flag number one is when he said it. Excuse me. And red flag number two is when he admitted it to it. And I still did not listen to my gut. I was determined. My ego took over, and I was determined I was going to be with this guy. And I moved in with him. And even after I moved in with him, that my inner self, that that voice was telling me things, was trying to show me something about this guy. And it just, I kept making up excuses. For an example, there was a gentleman, well, he's not a gentleman, I wouldn't consider him a gentleman, but when I was 7 years old, 6 or 7, my mother had left me with one of her boyfriends while she went to work, and he molested me. And when I moved in with this guy Brian, I kept thinking about it. It was like I could hear that voice telling me that, comparing Brian to this man that had molested me. And I kept, finding all kinds of excuses as to why Brian was not like this guy at all. And then, so it was almost like the universe or my guides were like, okay, she's not getting it. Let's find somebody, some other dirt bag that she's known. And then all of a sudden, like a week or two later, I started thinking about this really trashy dirt bag of a guy that I had dated, like back in the, I don't know, early 90s. And I wasn't listening. I was not paying any attention. I didn't want to hear it. It was almost like if you're involved with somebody and your best friend is trying to tell you about this person that you're involved with, and that how it's not good for you. This person is not good for you. They're not edifying you. It's just not good, and you're not listening. You don't want to hear it. And that's what I was going through. My own higher divine, my own inner self was trying to tell me to stay away from this guy. And I wouldn't listen. And because I wouldn't listen, a year and a half later, or about 2 years later, I was so wrapped up into the relationship that I ended up paying a very, very high consequence. And yeah, police were involved, court dates were involved. It was bad. It could have been a much worse situation in the end, that I'm so grateful for, that it didn't get any worse than what it was. It could have gone that way. Um, but when I got out of it, I began to realize that uh, everything that happened could have been so avoided if I would have just listened and trusted my inner self, my that higher divine, my spirit guides, whatever you want to call it, intuition. Um, if I would have just listened to it. So if you want to know why you're having such a hard time in relationships, and what, even with jobs, it doesn't just have to be a romantic relationship. This could be friendships, jobs, people, places, things that you surround yourself with. And if you're hearing that intuition or something that is coming in your ear, that you're hearing saying this is not good, this is not a good vibration for you, this is not edifying you, then get out of it. That's called trusting yourself, and trusting your intuition. And when you do that, I gotta tell you, my friends, that is the first step to self-love. You are taking care. Not only are you showing yourself self-love, but we always hear about this inner child, this inner child that we suppress from things that happened to us from a long time ago when we were children, and we've suppressed that inner child, and we got to let that inner child out and take care of it. Well, this is the first step, because all our lives, uh, we've we have suppressed that inner child that was hurt from so long ago, and from then on we just spiraled down a, a very toxic rabbit hole, and accepting things that did not resonate with us, and allowing things to be in our lives that were not bringing us peace, happiness, and we just accepted it. And and it's because we we weren't listening to the intuition. So, and healing that inner child and pulling that inner child back up, part of the way to heal it is to stay true to yourself and trust yourself. Trust that voice that you hear, or that feeling that you get when if something's in front of you, whether it be a person, place, or thing, and it doesn't feel right. It's not, in your gut, it's not good. It may sound appealing, or it might look appealing and everything, but it's not. And your higher divine is telling you stay away. And when you make the decision to listen to that inner voice, to your intuition, no matter how good what's in front of you looks, you listen to your intuition and you walk away. That is the first step, my dear, in healing that inner child, and healing the wounds, the layers and layers of wounds that have been holding you down for so long. First step to self-love. And it doesn't happen overnight. It might just be one little thing, And then it gets easier and easier. And the more you listen to that voice, the more you are in connection with your higher divine. It becomes your best friend. You listen to it all the time. So I hope this helps. I will be posting something again tomorrow, because all through the month of February, it is going to be about self-love. And there's so much to learn about self-love. So I will see you again tomorrow. Just very quickly, if you would like a tarot reading with me, my website is listed in the box below. Get in touch with me. If you want to make changes in your life, if you want to, if you're ready for a beautiful transformation, let's talk about it. Let's work together. I can help you with that. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel to get daily messages, do that as well. I also do a monthly tarot reading for each of the zodiac signs. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.